Everyone, it's Elaine Hamilton from the Reiki Center, and we are going to talk about the harmony symbol and unpack that a little bit since I got quite a lot of positive feedback from the power symbol video. So I kind of thought, well, let's just go through all of them. Why not? So the protection or harmony symbol, now, I noticed in Frank Arjava Petter's book, This is Reiki, his latest one. Hope it's his latest one. Sorry, Frank, if it's not. That he went and it's a lovely book, actually, so I recommend it. When he goes into the village that Asui was brought up in, he noticed a lot of the Hrih symbols. So Hrih, H-R-I-H, hope I'm pronouncing it right, is the symbol for compassion. And there was a lot of this symbology in and around the village. And Frank's assumption or suggestion is that perhaps the harmony symbol is derived from this. And that makes sense to me because the way that I have always used the harmony symbol is that of deep acceptance. So this idea of compassion. So we use the harmony symbol in environments or over ourselves or other people when there is a lack of harmony or balance in the system. So for example, if somebody is very upset, if we're very upset, or if you come into an environment and it feels a bit dodgy, then you would use this symbol. And I tend to pair it with the power symbol. So I will do the harmony symbol first. And whether that's imagining it over myself or somebody else if they're very agitated, or in the room if the room feels heavy. You know, sometimes you can walk into a room and you're like, oh, there's been a lot of arguing in here, or it's dense, if I could say that, you know, and it just feels prickly. You know, sometimes you walk into a room and it's like you get goosebumps, or you just feel kind of agitated. So what is happening if you're a sensitive person, if you're an empath, then you're picking up on the density or the emotional offloading that has happened in that room. And, you know, everything is energy. So if you're offloading, like just think about this. When someone yells at you, why would that impact you if there wasn't an energetic offloading happening? But when someone yells at you, it feels like you're being physically smacked. So there is definitely an energy that is coming out of that person and projecting onto you. And it's a very unpleasant feeling. It feels physically like you're being hit or abused, right? So to say that words can't hurt you is not true. And there's so much evidence now that that's not true, right? If you look at Emoto's water experiments or rice experiments, you can see that words have impact and emotions have impact. And you just look at your own life to notice that this is true. When someone's in a bad mood, and depression, for example, depression is very contagious. If you're living with a person who's depressed, you are much more likely to fall into depression yourself because you're in that energy all the time, and that energy has an impact. So we use the harmony symbol, and if we assume that its roots are from compassion, we're using that harmony symbol to open the space to a more harmonic or more balanced energy, which means we're balancing that negative energy with a more neutral energy, right? So often if there is an imbalance, then there's a feeling of disharmony in the body, or it just doesn't feel very comfortable, right? So whether that's in yourself or in somebody else. Now, I know a lot of people use the harmony symbol or protection as protection, almost like you're building like a wall around you. And I know a lot of people use this with the power symbol as well in trying to protect themselves or shield themselves. And I would say, okay, but what you're really doing when you are shielding yourself is you are coming from a place of fear, okay? Because you don't think that you can handle that energy. And I would suggest that what tends to happen in energy work is the biggest energy wins. Okay. So, and that again, that's totally testable. If you walk into a room and somebody is really angry and your energy is feeling really strong, like you are feeling really strong, that person's anger will not impact you as much as if you walk into that room and there is a lot of anger coming at you and you're feeling low or you're feeling tired or you're feeling less kind of full than usual, right? It's like you get out of bed, you've had a really bad night, you're tired, and the whole day feels more difficult going forwards than if you have a really good night's sleep and you wake up energized and full, right? Your tank is full. Then you can take a lot more because your energy is bigger. So actually, what's happening when you have a really strong, robust energy, when you walk into a room and someone is putting negative energy into the room, actually, you can take it. I explain this properly, right? It's like you're giving out a certain vibration of energy. Your energy is bigger than the person who's giving out the negative energy. So therefore, their negative energy is balanced in the room. Not like you're taking it on. Okay. Don't take on other people's energy, but it's like you're able to balance the environment or the air or the energy. Okay. So you come in with high energy, they're coming in at a lower energy point, bark, bark, bark. But it's okay because you can. Does that even make sense? It makes sense in my mind. That's the way I experience it. So again, check it out. Like all this stuff, just check it out for yourself. When you are feeling quite low yourself and someone comes in and starts barking at you, it is a lot harder to take than when you're feeling in a good mood. Okay. Or when you're feeling not in a good mood. I don't want to say good and bad moods. Okay. It's when I talk about how big your energy is, what I'm talking about is your aura. Okay. So it's how much chi you've got, how much energy do you have, good or bad? Because if someone comes in with a really big energy, but really angry, that's something. That is really something. And I'm sure you know people like that as well that just seem to have this massive rage energy going on. And everywhere they go, it's just like, stay away. So understanding your level of energy as well in any given day will help you to kind of know, okay, am I able to hold space better than anybody else in the room, or are they holding space better than me? Now, better doesn't mean well, okay? It doesn't mean good. It just means they have a bigger energy, so they're dominating that space more than you. Now, in these situations, when you use the harmony symbol, what you're doing in effect is dispersing or increasing the vibrational ability of the room, right? If you're just throwing it, if you like, you walk into a room and there's a lot of agitation. And I used to do this a lot when I was working in corporate because you'd walk into some meetings and it was like, uh-oh. And I would just sit there quietly and just visualize the harmony symbol over the whole space. So that the intention of that is to open the environment, right? The energy of the room to really harmonize that space so that when somebody is getting really agitated and they're like out there in the room is harmonizing it and it disperses it. There's this feeling of taking a breath. And what was quite interesting when I was reading up about the Hrih, the root or seed symbol is the Hrih in Sanskrit, I think, symbolizes breath. And often, and I could be talking shit, but when I read it, I was like, oh, that makes sense, because I often liken the harmony symbol with taking a breath. It's almost like everybody in the room resets, okay, and breathe. And often when we're very agitated, what's happening is we're actually just not breathing. It's like my brother says this, which I've repeated many times, but he basically says, anxiety is excitement without breathing. And that's perfect. Check it out for yourself. Okay. When you start breathing properly, when you're anxious, the anxiety level goes down. Okay, because we're not breathing properly. So this whole, when you bring it into something like harmony, when you are deeply breathing, slow and deep, up and down through your whole system, then it is very, very difficult to be anxious at the same time. And it's very difficult to be angry as well, right? So it's the whole system takes a breath. So whether you are trying to harmonize yourself, and the way you can do that, there's lots of lovely methods, but you can visualize, like if you're standing, you can visualize the harmony symbol in front of you, and then you step into it, right? And as you step into it, you just breathe the whole symbol in. Or another way I like to do it is to visualize it on top of my head, and then just as I breathe, sinking it all the way down into my system. Or another super simple thing is to just draw it all the way through my body. And that also has a very deepening impact. And when you try this and meditate with it, even if it's for a minute or two, just notice how, and again, this is my experience, but I notice how the noise just settles. It's like my focus or my energy focus goes deep into my body, into my belly, into my pelvis, and it kind of opens up down in the base chakra, right? So there's like this safety, security starts to open up. And so my assumption is the same thing is going on with the energy around us as well. But again, check it out. So the thing with the harmony symbol is its tendency is to, so if you imagine if everyone in the room took a breath and calmed down, how would things be a bit different? People tend to respond a bit more gentler and with more compassion, right? So the whole idea is that you are activating the compassion in the air, or you are activating the harmony in the air. Like, and it doesn't always work. Like some people just like getting angry and they're not going to shift for anything. That's not on you, but just notice in yourself, when you also become calmer and more compassionate and you're building your energy, then you're going to have the biggest energy and you're going to win, right? And what I mean by that, when you're going to win, is you're going to influence that space. So this is really important. Like we really influence space wherever we go. Now, if you have a very small energetic space, like you have a very shrunken chi, you have a very small aura, you know, you're just kind of like peeling around like this, you're not going to influence as much. But I have to say, as Reiki people, we have a certain responsibility because Reiki does enlarge our aura and it enlarges our impact and influence. So if you're not doing your inner work as you are growing your energy, then people get quite with your energy. You might even become less the person that people want to hang out with because you're not taking responsibility for the quality of your energy. You can have very big energy, but it can be very uncomfortable. So part of our responsibility as Reiki people is to, yeah, great. We have this big energy field that we're building through our Reiki, but what's the quality of that energy? So when you run the Seiki through you, are you meditating with it? Is it part of your life? Are you visualizing it? One of the things is, even if you're visualizing it out there, the way the Reiki 2 attunement embeds in your system, every time you visualize the symbol out there, or you, what I call activate the symbol out there with your intention, you activate it in your heart chakra as well. So what that means is that the more you are using the symbols, the more you are kind of emulating them. You know, so then it's just the name, thinking the intention, thinking harmony, thinking compassion, these things you just radiate out. And that's, I think, a really cool thing that as Reiki people, we have that capacity and we have that ability to start living, breathing, like emulating the Reiki wherever we go. And I often talk about Reiki 2 as social service, because everywhere we go, we can be harmonizing the environment a little bit better, just a little bit. And that's not to get up in our heads and, oh, I'm so cool. It's But you do this like when you walk into a supermarket, when you notice a tantruming child or an irate mother who's just exhausted or a couple that's arguing. Like you can bring compassion into the world wherever you go. And to me, that's a really lovely social service. And you might not feel called to that, but you might. And that is a great thing that we can offer. Like we don't have to go up to people and say, "Oh, let me meddle, let me talk to you, we don't have to do any of that. Simply by walking on this planet and taking the opportunity of building our energy and building a very peaceful energy that radiates everywhere you walk, you impact people. You don't even have to be talking to them, right? And just notice how this happens when you're in a deeply serene, calm, harmonized in state of mind. Just notice how other people respond to you versus when you're agitated. Haven't you noticed that already, right? When we're agitated or we're angry or we're tired or we're depressed or whatever, it's like then we get all of that reflection back because we are impacting people and they're reacting to that. Just like we react to people who start yelling at us. Most of the time we start yelling back because it's contagious. So a lot of our work around the harmony symbol is, okay, what if we just really focused on harmonizing ourselves, harmonizing the environments we're in, and really starting to build on that? So it's not about protection, okay? Because protection is based on fear. Like, I'm going to protect myself from out there. Whereas harmony is I'm going to harmonize my environment and influence it that way so that then other people around me can also be more harmonized. And then when they are, if somebody's yelling at you and you're harmonized, it's okay. It's like, okay, they're obviously in a bad mood and you can feel their pain, but it's not personal. Sometimes it is, but if you keep doing the work, it gets less and less personal. That's all I can say. So hopefully that's helpful, and just test it out. Again, like all the stuff I talk about, you can test it, meditate on the harmony symbol, throw it around, notice how it feels in your system. Do you get that same feeling? Like when you just meditate on it or you just run it down through your system, do you notice what I'm talking about? This opening that happens. The breathing gets deeper. It's like that everything becomes more open, everything becomes more acknowledged. And you can even try this when you're feeling quite agitated about a certain topic. Like I actually really like doing it when I've had a bit of an altercation with someone and I'm sitting there blaming them. That kind of thing where I'm like, oh, it's all their fault. Blah, blah, blah. Why did they do this to me? And then I sit there and I meditate with the Seiki. And more often than not, I feel this overwhelming compassion for where they're coming from, and then I'm able to forgive, right? So I do really like this idea that the harmony symbol is very closely derived from the seed symbol for compassion, because for me, it makes sense in my own usage of the symbol. And so just something to drop in there if it's a new concept to you or you haven't heard that before. Also check out Frank Arjava Petter's book, because it's a cool read because he does a lot of research. So it's interesting. Right, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed that and see you soon.